go to uni, get a job, 9 to 5, buy a home, get married, or get married, buy a home. You decide whatever you want to do. But then that's it. You're trapped. You're trapped for the next 30 years to just keep paying the mortgage, and you don't know what the hell's going to happen. Equity can be created. You buy a 3-bedroom house, you choose the right suburbs, you make sure you add another bedroom, and you gain 60, 70,000, 100,000, and sometimes more as well. Why would you not buy a house right now? That's my problem. This is the time to make the money, because now everybody's not buying. And if you can buy or pick a house, which is, let's just say $50,000, $60,000 cheaper, you're going to make that money way faster when the interest rate cut's going to happen next year. All right, guys, welcome to episode number 2 of the Commercial Property News and Strategies. I've got Nathan again today. How you going, man?
Mate, I'm just glad to be back, Jazz.
So good to have you, man. Please give us that secret, Nathan, that all should learn to scale their portfolio from 0 to 6+ properties. Please.
When a property is sitting within a trust-based structure and it's on an interest-only loan, and at that point your rental income is covering what your repayment is, with the majority of lenders, all it takes is just a letter from your accountant and they'll completely disregard that debt. Whereas if it was in your own personal name, it would still be counted as a liability, and that's going to massively reduce how you can borrow and how many properties you can actually purchase. The key is here, Jazz, that we know property goes up over time. So in this game, it's about getting in as early as we can, safely, but as early as we can to be able to build our portfolio. If you're tied up with your property for 3 or 5 years, the compounding loss that you're going to make on missing out on property is going to mean hundreds and thousands of dollars of lost capital growth.
Here's the secret, guys. You can execute it. Do it. We're giving it to you on a platter. Do you want to give them the last piece of structure, which I think is the most important to be able to scale your portfolio from 0 to 6+ properties very shortly?
Sure. I mean, one of the areas that most people are missing out on to actually grow their portfolio at the moment is purchasing inside a self-managed superannuation fund. If you look at a typical superannuation balance of a couple in their 40s, it's about $200,000. Now, if they've got that in the share market, it might be earning 7, 8, 9, let's call it 10% per annum. So at the end of the year, that $200,000 will be worth 220 at best. When you look at what you could do with that 200,000 within an SMSF, you can actually leverage the property, so you can borrow to 80%. So you could use that $200,000 to get a $1 million property. Now, if that $1 million property, right, that you've purchased for the $200,000 deposit has just grown by 5%, you've actually made $50,000 at the end of the 12 months, and it's going to keep repeating this cycle. 15,000 suburbs and towns across Australia. 15,000. You're wanting to make your first investment decision. What are the chances that you even live within driving distance of where the best possible buying opportunity is right now? When people are looking to invest, they are going into their first investment or even their second or third completely unequipped. It's like entering a battlefield and all you're carrying is maybe a water bottle.
Probably not even that, but
Not even that. Because you're going up against real estate agents that have experience and do these sales day in, day out. You're then needing to try and find the best possible property in the area. How would you know what the best possible property is? So you've got to do the research. Whereas when you work with someone that actually does it day in, day out, they take care of that whole entire component.
Most of the people want to buy in the growth area, but they don't realize that they're not going to get the price that they think they're going to get it. You're trying to buy in growth. They don't understand, man. In about 60 days, by the time they're going to settle, they probably have made about 20 to 30K. If you really know if you're buying in a growth area. But some of the people, they don't understand because they're not listening to your advice. And by the way, this particular client that I'm talking about, bro, they only have one property, owner occupied, right?
So they're crippled with indecision.
Correct.
And they're trying to get everything to be perfect.
Correct. And not just that, here's the most dangerous thing. Half information and theoretical information. What they have done is, bro, they've just listened to podcasts. They may have heard something. They may have done some books or something, which is probably amazing to do that. But that's not going to allow you to execute. The execution is where you make the money. Let me give it to you today. If you apply this, you'll make money for the rest of your life. Let me be very honest. Buy a property in the growth area, if you can find one. Make sure it's the shittiest property on the street, on the very good location. And all you really have to do is you either find the way to develop it or to really renovate it, and then you refinance and you repeat. That's it. That's the game. Here you go. I think every 2 to 3 years, whenever people have started to make more money, what they like to do, if they've started with a 2-bedroom house, they want to go to a 3-bedroom house now.
Sure.
And after 3-4 years, they go to the 4 and 5. And what they're doing is they do the same stuff that you're talking about, same shit. They go back to zero.
And it's even worse, you're going even further than zero
Exactly.
because your debt's increasing the whole way through. And we think that we're creating wealth from that, but we're not creating
creating wealth.
because you always need a place to live. So
Absolutely.
your primary place of residence is not an asset.
It's not an asset. It's
However-
a freaking liability.
However, utilizing the equity in the property to purchase assets, which would be investment properties that go up in value, that have rent that increases over time, that's when you start utilizing it in its best possible way. But absolutely, if you had the choice, you're saying don't buy your own home.
And I think one of the dumbest decisions ever would be is to buy your own home and not to buy multiple or at least 6 investment properties. One of the dumbest.
And what would you say would be the main reason for that?
Well, the reason is because that's what they want to do. They want to control you. And the easiest way to control is to have you trapped.
So
It's
have you
a-
trapped in a single
Exactly.
property?
It's a trap. It's a freaking trap. What they do is they get you to live, well, first of all, they get you to do schooling, right? You go to kindergarten, you go to school, and they're already feeding you with all this crap that, oh, yeah, you know what? All you have to do is get a job, go to uni, get a job, 9 to 5, buy a home, get married, or get married, buy a home. You decide whatever you want to do. But then that's it. You're trapped. You're trapped for the next 30 years to just keep paying the mortgage. And you don't know what the hell's going to happen. It's never an Australian dream to buy an investment property first, or a New Zealand dream to buy an investment property first. It's never that. Why is that?
Well, I mean, the key is if you look at it, with the majority of people, they're starting with absolutely no plan as they go. They're
Correct.
hoping that things will just magically work out, but it's all about having the structure and the plan before you start purchasing property.
Think about what do you want to do? Like, what do you want and by when? And why do you want it?
Well, if you don't have a reason behind it, then how are you going to be able to figure out how to
Absolutely
get
not.
there?
That's why 85% of the Australians don't have anything left when they retire, except their super. And super cannot let you retire or let you have a good life.
Well, if you've got $500,000 in super and you're spending $50,000 a year, how long is that going to last you, even if you're getting 5 or 6% returns?
That's it. That's why only 0.89% of the people have got most of the property. For the simple reason that they want to invest. And they want to invest in the professionals they want to use in the future as well. They don't really realize that if you have a trust, it's so easy to pass on your property to your kids. If you don't have a trust, then, well, you are going to be paying a lot more tax. Capital gain tax, inheritance tax, you name it.
Well, there's a reason why the top 1% of wealthy individuals in this country will use trust-based structures tied together with their proprietary limiters.
New Zealand just dropped their interest rates by 50 basis points, bro. And that just proved my point even further in the last video that I did, which got a lot of people, worried or, I've made a lot of enemies. Yes, New Zealand was a shit show. New Zealand economy was a shit show. That's why they had to drop 50 basis points. It just proved my point even further. So anybody who was just leaving negative comments, thank you so much. Now you can watch this video, and I was absolutely right. Because you never drop 50 basis points is a huge, huge drop straight away. Usually, we see 25 basis points. And when you see 50 basis points, that basically means it's a shit show. Yes, New Zealand was a shit show.
And we talk about shit shows. I mean, have a look at Victoria right now. It's an absolute basket case. Look what we're actually experiencing. We've got a situation where you have a major political party. We don't need to name them and give them more attention.
Come on. Everyone knows anyways.
A major political party saying that they want to put freezers on rents and they want to increase the costs of ownership for investors, and that's somehow going to translate to lower rentals. Now, this comes
There isn't a centrist party. Why don't we have it, by the way?
because everyone tries and then they realize that it doesn't work.
Do you also think it's about the money as well?
I think it's about the fact that we're running off a two-party system in just about every single major, quote-unquote, democratic country.
That's not intentional. Oh, sorry, that is intentional.
That's 100% intentional.
Intentional,
Yeah.
by the way. That's not coincident, was what I was going to say.
Yeah.
But that's intentional. It's the money. On extreme ends of the spectrum, they get paid the most. And right in the middle, people don't really invest much in either of those parties. In Victoria, we obviously not advising a lot of people to invest for the obvious reason that the returns are not the best right now, and it looks like it's not going to be very good for the next couple of years or few years as well, unless we have a change of regime. In my opinion, I could be very wrong. But what we are doing, and what most of the people are not doing, I would say, is helping first home buyers. We are helping a lot of first home buyers in Victoria because they want to make sure they have the house of their dreams. But at the same time, they don't know that about 3,000 builders went bankrupt last year.
Wow. In Victoria?
In Victoria. Oh, no, sorry, in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And what we like to do is we like to do due diligence there. And we like to make sure that they are dealing with the right developer, they're dealing with the right people, they've got the right builders on their side, and they are buying in the good estate as well. Go see what's happening in Argentina right now. Argentina had a rent freeze as well. The new president, Milei, came in and he was like, no rent freeze, nothing at all. Work the way you want to, let the market decide. You know what happened? Bro, their rental dropped by 40%. Why? There were a lot of properties that people were holding on, either on Airbnb or were they just not putting it on rental market at all, for the simple reason, hey, we can't get the market on. Why would I do that? Now, ever since he's taken that off, that policy is no more there, the overall rental has come down by 40%. Why? More properties came to the market because they can charge the market rent. Let the market decide, government. With $70,000, mate, I bought 4 properties. Some of the comments that we're getting on my Instagram is like, that's bullshit. That's not possible.
But it's capital growth.
Exactly. They don't understand how to create equity. Equity can be created. You buy a 3-bedroom house, you choose the right suburbs, you make sure you add another bedroom, and you gain 60, 70,000, 100,000, and sometimes more as well. The difference between a 3-bedroom and a 4-bedroom house was close to $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
So what we can do is we just find a house which is a big enough house. If it's a 3-bedroom house, all we got to do is renovate it to 4-bedroom house.
And then done.
And you've made $100,000. Simple as that.
And then even getting a bit more granular, it's a matter of who's the builder going to be.
Absolutely.
You actually choose that. And like you said, with thousands of builders across the country going bankrupt, I guess now more than ever is one of the most important times to make sure that you're choosing someone that's trusted. Most people, their way of due diligence would be to look at some Google reviews.
And done.
And that's it.
You know that you can buy Google reviews, right? You can ask your friends and family to do it. But jokes aside, but it's the truth as well. We do the due diligence to make sure that we partner with the right developers and builders to be able to make sure that people are able to at least execute on what they have promised, like they have delivered the product that they were promised. Obviously, right now, there are a lot of people out there who have not been able to receive the end product they were promised.
Or at least in a timely fashion.
Fashion, for sure.
Other day, there was one in WA where the builder still had partially completed, we're talking single dwelling homes, partially completed 2.5 years in, and then even when they were getting completed, they had all of these structural issues. Whereas with your builders, you're actually working with them on an ongoing basis. You get to know their entire teams behind them. What are some of the differences that makes?
That makes obviously a big difference to make sure that we know what we're doing, number one, but at the same time, we are very sure about the fact that this is going to happen. Because people don't realize when you have bought land, and you obviously know this better, you may be able to answer even better, that when you have bought land, you are paying a mortgage on a land. You're not making any income on that at all.
Zero.
It's zero. And now you've got a rent and you've got a mortgage on a land, which you can't do much about. So people don't realize that the more that you are not, so the more time it takes to finish the end product, which is your house, it's a product, it's going to cost you way more. Even though some of the people would actually negotiate, hey, we're getting $20,000 cheaper house, but they're going to take 2 years to do that. Have you done the numbers on that?
I mean, if you look at it, $500,000, 6% interest, 12 months, that's $30,000 worth of interest. Just
Just like that.
evaporated.
You
So-
do it for over a couple of years, that's 60.
Gets expensive.
It's expensive, right? So you want to make sure you're choosing the right builder to be able to make sure that you're getting the product that you were promised. Let me tell you, 100K nosedive. Home prices are fall in half of Sydney.
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 Well, as a Melburnian, I can say that it's hard to be upset about that news.
Why? Just because you're not making enough money doesn't mean that Sydney shouldn't make money. Anyways, home prices have been falling in over half of Sydney suburbs. This is from realestate.com.au, by the way, guys. Over the past 3 months, as would-be buyers hold off purchases in hope of a rate cut next year.
That's really interesting because what you're saying is we know the prices are going to go back up again.
Why would you not buy a house right now? That's my problem. This is the time to make the money because now everybody's not buying. And if you can buy or pick a house, which is, let's just say $50,000, $60,000 cheaper, you're going to make that money way faster when the interest rate cut's going to happen next year.
Absolutely. Well, the interesting thing is, if the story read differently, that prices had grown by $100,000 after the last 6 months, people would be rushing to go and get something. Because of the fact that they're dropping, people are going, well, I better wait a little bit more.
This is a sheep mentality. This is what I call it.
But this is the mentality that costs you capital growth and it costs you great buying opportunities.
That's exactly what it is. An exclusive PropTech data revealed the drop skimmed over 100,000 off the average prices of homes in many areas. The falls coincided with the substantial increase in property listing in lead up to spring with choice of a oh my freaking God.
George is upset about this.
George, don't
I
worry about it,
understand.
mate. Hey, we got you, mate. We'll find you a property as well, okay, when you grow up.
So it's 100.
Too young right now. Sales manager, Adam, I don't want to take the last name because this is from realestate.com as well, took advantage surging home price in the area over the past year to buy the acreage properties he's always dreamt of. Having built a Logan house in 2022 for his new daughter, has made plan to save money for a larger upgrade in coming years. So it's Logan.
Logan in Brisbane, south of Brisbane.
Brisbane, man. People are making $150,000 and unit prices have gone up. Seeing prices in this area spiking, he and several other used it as a chance to springboard funding for their new larger home. PropTech largest quarterly home value reveal massive surges in the home prices across many Queensland market over the past year. Now, City of Logan is obviously making a lot of money, and this is exactly when I was talking to you about the client who did not want us to suggest them or advise them or just be an order taker. They would have made this kind of money because we were in the Queensland area buying properties for them or looking to buy properties for them. But this is exactly what happens when you want your advisors to become order takers and not your advisors anymore. You miss out on a lot of opportunity. They could have potentially made $150,000
Just
in
like
less
that.
than 1 year, just like that.
And that's the interesting thing about capital growth. A lot of people think it happens in just a straight line. You get that growth of 5, 6, 7%. What generally happens with a growth market, or when you actually look at the growth, is you'll have a period of time where it might drop or it might be flat. It may go like this. And then when it starts to grow, it's going to grow incredibly quickly. That is not the point where you want to be buying. You don't want to be buying when this roller coaster is on the way up. You want to already be positioned into that area before it's even started to
This is
happen.
exactly what we do, man. We look at the data. We just don't do it. We look at about 19 to 25 different things to be able to make sure that we are buying in the right suburb. There's a lot of data that we consider before we even start buying in a suburb that the client will actually make them money. So it's not like we're winging it. It's a data-based search that we do, and we look at very particular suburbs to make sure. That's why we know it's going to potentially go up. But if you don't want to take the advice, no problems at all. You can put $150,000 in my bank account. I'll happily take it. In Sydney, a lot of suburbs are losing about up to 100K nosedive in their real estate market or in their house prices. Do you think it's the right approach, or can we do something else?
Well, firstly, you got to look at something. You don't want to buy something just because it's a bargain. Now, if you had a pair of shoes and it was a particular brand that you really like and you saw it for 50% off, then by all means, Buy as many of them as you can. Buy them for your friends, buy them for your family. But when it comes to property, remembering there's nothing that's identical to it. You still need to do the research, and a crappy property that's cheap is not going to give you long-term capital growth. A good quality property in a good quality area that has things that you can do to it. There may be renovations that you can do, there may be subdivision potential. These are the things that you can look for. And if at the same time you can get it at a good price, then absolutely go for it. But bargain shopping and bargain hunting is not what property investment to build long-term wealth is about.
It's about the strategy and looking at the really long-term picture of how the suburb is going to perform.
And how is it going to tie in?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And how is it going to help you to grow your portfolio, to scale it to at least 6+ properties that you're trying to do. While we're on it, let me give it to you guys. Let me give you the game, as we don't care. Today, I'm going to talk about the 10 most hottest suburbs right now. I'm going to give you the names so that you can do it. Home buyers are snapping up houses in Australia, hottest market, in record time, with property selling up by as much as 78% faster than a year ago. Okay, so let me give you the top 10 hottest suburbs in Australia where the days on the market fell the most over the past year. So if you want to execute it, here you go. The first one is in South Lake, Greater Perth. Current median days on market is 10 days. It was 45 days. That is one of the strongest piece of data that we look at to make sure that you want to buy there. But I'm going to give it to you.
That means it's basically listing a week and a half
Absolutely.
later it's getting sold.
It's getting sold. Another one is Greenwood. It's in Greater Perth as well. Days on the market, 11 days. Butler, Perth, Greater Perth as well, 10 days. Doubleview, Greater Perth, 12 days. Days on the market. That's it. Kinross, Greater Perth, 12 days. Midvale, Greater Perth, 18 days. Heathridge, 12 days, Greater Perth. Silver Sands, 11 days. All of them are Greater Perth, and their days on the market is almost like single digits. This is unbelievable. Wow. Go
Perth.
Yeah. If you're a single, there's a city in Australia that is the strangest place for you to live in. Do you know what that city is?
Where would that be?
Give it a go.
Perth.
Perth? Probably not. It's Brisbane, bro.
Brisbane?
So if you're single, that is the worst place to live if you're single.
I don't know if all of your Brisbane listeners would agree to that.
Well, I'm okay with that if they don't, but that's what we have on realestate.com.au. And you know what the second worst and third is?
Where?
Please. Our best place, bro.
Second best or second worst?
Second worst.
Second worst? Hey, look, I'm going to throw it to Perth again.
It's Victoria or Melbourne.
So Melbourne's second, so that would mean Sydney would be third.
Sydney is a third one. All right, mate. This one is going to be an interesting one.
I'm excited already.
You are excited.
I'm excited.
You must be. You should be. You ought to be. February rate cuts. Big banks prediction aligning as inflation cools. NAB has brought forward its prediction for the first rate cut from the Reserve Bank to February next year, a move experts say should improve confidence for both property seekers and owners. NAB has been an outlier among the big four banks in the recent months, conservatively looking towards next May as the most likely time for a rate cut from the RBA. What do you think about that?
Well, firstly, if a bank economist is predicting something is going to happen, that's usually a really good indicator that it will never occur. These are the exact same banks that told us that in 2024, before the end of the financial year, that we would be getting rate cuts.
I doubt that either. I that's why I don't even listen to them anymore. I don't know.
It's actually better to do the exact opposite of what they say will happen.
But I do want to have to mention this very interesting point, which you ought to consider, or anybody who's thinking to buy or do that is, remember that I've just lost my headphones. It's back now. Remember that it's going to be elections next year, and there's going to be some push from the parties to make sure to RBA to cut some rates. They want to look good for sure. That's just my prediction. That's my assumption, or that's allegedly, by the way. I'm not 100% sure of that. What do you think?
Well, I think what we are seeing right now, whether or not it's related to the politics, what we are seeing right now is for the first time multiple banks are offering rates with a 5 in front of it on their 2-year fixed terms. And it's not 5.99 or 5.89. We're seeing around 5.5%. So there is definitely the likelihood that rates are going to come down.
It's a trap. Don't do it. It's a trap. Whenever you see that they have dropped the interest rates when it comes to fixed rates, it's a trap. Don't do it. It's the worst way to fix your rates. Anyways, I've got to move on to the next. This is going to be an interesting one as well. How many Victorian investors have sold due to higher land taxes? Changes to land taxes threshold in 2024 increased costs significantly for investors in Victoria, but how many of them have responded by selling their rental properties? Analysis comparing the number of rental properties sold to those in the other states suggests almost 5,000 more investors have sold up since the changes were announced. 5,000 investors have just left it, mate.
So what does that do to rental prices?
The rental prices, it's just going to keep going because
you're reducing the pool of supply that's in the market.
Absolutely. So, and at the same time, guys, this is something that I talked about in one of the meetings that we had last Friday. I talked about very high individual, net worth individual. When money leaves, when the investor money leaves any state, any country, anything, it's not a good sign for the home buyers as well. Remember that your prices or the prices of the houses will not grow at the same speed as we compare to Perth, because obviously their days on market is way less as compared to what is actually happening in Melbourne. Melbourne is the opposite right now. So when the investors' money leave any particular city or state, it's not a good sign for homeowners as well.
Anything that's reducing the amount of options that are there, you've got people that are losing capital growth or missing out on future capital growth, but you've also got the renters that are paying for it. There's a no-win situation with that type of...
People complain a lot about, hey, I can't save, I can't do this, I've got a pumpkin latte to drink, I've got rent, and I've got everything. Boomers had it easy. What are some of the things that they can do to actually save some money?
One of the best thought exercises you can do if you're trying to save money so you can further invest or pay your mortgage off is do this. Imagine that you've had a huge reduction in your salary, a 20% reduction, or you've lost your job. And then you go to your expenses and you look at what are the things you're going to get rid of right now.
Correct.
And I guarantee you, there'll be subscriptions you're hardly using. There might be a gym membership that you've used 3-6 months ago. There will be costs along the way. Now, the great thing is, if you do this before you need it, you're going to have more cash
money
coming through, which is going to A, increase your borrowing capacity, B, increase your ability to purchase more property and generate more wealth. And then, heaven forbid, if there was something that would have changed your financial situation, you are already covered because you've already built it in.
Or you can just simply use that money to pay off your debt. Biggest gift my father and my mother has given to me is the freedom, bro. That's the only way that you can make
any growth.
I do have to mention that those parents were brown, and brown parents are overprotective. What parents do is, out of emotion, they like to impose that limitation on them. Probably not the best thing.
In terms of investing, do you think that that's what's given you the flexibility and the freedom to build your portfolio?
Absolutely.